calculator tutorial, we're going to talk about how to make a table because we make a lot of tables in this class. I'm constantly asking you to make a table of values. And even though the last calculator tutorial I showed you how to find specific points, sometimes it's honestly just easier to make a table. So that's what we're going to do today. As always, we're going to turn it on. And we're always going to start with the y equals button because that's kind of the theme of this graphing calculator for the past few videos. So we want to write out the equation for the y values of the table we want to make. So I'm just going to do a pretty simple one. I'm going to do negative. Remember, this is the negative button. And then I'll do x up. And let's do like 4. And then we'll do minus. Remember, this is the minus button. And we'll do the square root of 13. So remember, to get square root, you do second, and then that x squared button, 13. And since we have open parentheses, we got to close the parentheses. So now I'll click enter. And instead of clicking the graph button, which we're very used to doing, what we're going to do is we're going to click second and then the graph button. Because if you notice, the orange text above the graph button says table, and we're making a table today. So I clicked second, and now I'm going to click graph. And you should get a table of values going up by increments of 1. So mine starts at 0, goes to 6. If you scroll up, you can get more values. If you scroll down, you can also get more values. And so this is nice for a very general sense. But a lot of times we need more specific points for our x values because we're trying to find specific information or we want to find intercepts, all that good stuff. So to change the settings on your table, you're going to click second and then the window button because the orange text says table set. Cool. And so this is going to tell you where you want your table to start, how you want it to grow, and then we'll talk about these last two in a little bit. So say I wanted to start at 10 and I wanted my table to grow in increments of 0.3, just so that I could get a little bit more specificity. So that's all good to go. So now I'm going to click second and graph again. And now my table starts at 10. It goes up by increments of 0.3 and it gives me my needed y values. You can still scroll up and down if you want and you'll be good to go. But in most cases, we want a very specific set of x values. And so if you're like, well, I just want to make a table with like 3 points, but the 3 points aren't evenly spaced, there's a setting for that. So if we go to second table set, what we're going to do now is we're going to scroll down to independent. And remember, independent just means x values. And it should be set on auto, but if you click the right arrow, you can change it to ask and just click enter. Sadly, you can't change the dependent value to ask and be like, oh, if y equals 0, what's x? I tried that. It doesn't work. So the setting you want to have is independent set to ask, dependent set to auto. If you set dependent to ask, all it's going to do is leave a blank space after you type in an x value. So this is the setting that you want where we're now going to be able to type in any x value and it will give us our y value. So we're going to go back to the table. So second graph, and now it's blank because it's waiting for us to tell what values we want. So say I want to do 1.258 for my first x value, and it gives me my y value perfectly. Or if I want to do negative 2.5, again, you could type in anything. You could even do like a square root of 12, and it will convert it to a decimal and find the y value for you. This feature is also really cool because if we go back to y equals and type in a second equation, I'll just be super quick about this one, x cubed, and click enter. Now if we go to the table, it gives us the y values for our first equation and the y values for our second equation. So if you're ever trying to compare two graphs, that's also a really cool feature. So that's the main idea for this calculator tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions and have a wonderful day.